reflect that Mr. Swinson and Mr. Bonini are not present at this time, and I ask that we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have public today, so we'll note safety exit signs. This is a very exciting moment for me that I get to do that. And then we'll ask for an approval of the minutes of September 4th.
Motion to approve.
And
Second.
any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. And that was Member Ferb, and seconded by Member Wachsmuth. Community Development Block Grant Projects, Ms. Russo.
Just to let you know, for the for FY 2014, the year started in April, but we still have not received our contracts. We had word that the contracts were received by the county from HUD, so we should be getting them, I believe, by the beginning of November. So we're still waiting for those, for the funding for those, for the projects that we had anticipated.
And that does not impact on our ability to function or to...
It doesn't impact, it just delays the, when we can start our projects, which then puts us behind in our timeliness, but...
Do they move back our time frame?
No.
So it does impact us greatly.
It impacts us, because technically we have 18 months
Right.
to spend the money. It's a portion of the money that we have to spend, but yes, we don't get any forgiveness because the federal process was late. So yes, it does impact it.
Okay.
And tonight's the public hearing for our FY 2015 program. So we had published in the advance the notice, so I'll read it out for the record. Citizens' Ideas Wanted on Community Development Program, announcement of public hearing. In June 2015, the Village of Patchogue expects to receive approximately $146,600 in federal community development block grant funds. These funds may be used and have been previously used for a variety of projects to be selected by local officials. Eligible activities include acquisition and demolition of blighted property, elimination of physical barriers for the handicapped, public facilities and improvement, street reconstruction, public art, economic development, and public services, which are limited to 15%. Village residents are invited to attend a public hearing on October 2nd, 2014 at 5 p.m. at Patchogue Village Hall, 14 Baker Street, Patchogue, New York, to express citizen views on local housing and community development needs to be met with these funds. We did a review last time of what the process is and what we can use our funding for. So we can have now leave it to the board to open the public hearing.
Is there any public comment regarding it? Yes, may I ask you to come forward and state your name?
You know, 5 o'clock, most people are just leaving work. I think there are people who would probably want to be here but cannot be here at 5. So are you planning to hold another hearing and make it at a time when people can actually provide some input? Because at 5 o'clock, people are still in their offices, they're just leaving.
Well, we have had our meetings up until the last couple of months at 7 o'clock, and as I had mentioned earlier, we've never had an attendee. And I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
And even for this meeting last year at the public hearing, I believe we had one person present. So when we moved our meetings, as Ms. Russo had stated to somebody today.
There was another email that we received. I can say I've been in this position for 8 years. In that 8 years, I can count on one hand the number of public that have come to any of our meetings. So we felt that moving it to 5 o'clock, perhaps it just works for the board, and then it works for those people who maybe not drive at night because our meetings are later. There are people who do participate in our programs that don't drive at night or don't go out at night, and also perhaps people coming home on their way to work. But we don't have, we just not have seen, and this is the first comment we've had about our meeting times, and so I'll leave it to the board to take that into consideration. But it really is because we have no public participation.
I really feel that that's almost not relevant, that even though there has not been public participation, that again and again and again, it makes sense and it looks good, okay, to make it at a time when people can get here. That's just how I see it.
Do you happen to know of anybody that would like to come?
Actually, we got a couple of comments on our page about people who said, I work in Manhattan, or at 5 o'clock. You know, I understand that your meetings are always at 5, but this particular meeting, you know, you're specifically asking for public input.
Well, just with all due respect, this is the first year in 8 years that we've had it at 5 o'clock. Every other year it's been at 7, and no one has appeared except, I think we had 3 years where someone appeared to speak. So the public hasn't indicated an interest. If you're hearing that now, you know, I leave it to the board that sets the time.
I'm just making a comment.
Okay, we will definitely take it under advisement, and as I said, this has been a new thing for us that we tried, hoping that we might catch a few more people on, you know, as they're still out and about, and it really hasn't worked either way. So we will definitely take your comments under advisement and consider them, and we thank you for
I
them.
appreciate that.
There might be some people come home, and if it's later, to go home, and they say, heck with it, I'm home, I'll sit home. You know?
We're trying. I would just like to say for the record, we're extremely proud of the work we do, and I
And you
think,
should be.
and we are, and we would love nothing more than to have the public be more aware of it and have input into it, because, you know, we're 5 people up here trying to do what's best, and we would love to have, you know, ideas and feelings from the public. So we welcome your comments, and as I said, we will take them under advisement and consider it. A second comment?
Yes.
Thank you.
See, getting John Bogack, he knocks the streets, he's getting like double the amount you normally get. I'm going to come back to Joe's point in a second, but I actually want to come back to the points I made the last time I was here, which was support for public art funding and also for social services outreach. So now with public arts funding, I know you've got projects going, and the village is going to be having other projects too, funded by other sources. And I think what you might give some attention to is if you have some discretionary funds to protecting the public art that is in the village, starting with giving Don all the money he needs to make sure that when graffiti occurs, which is going to occur, that it be wiped off as fast as possible. There's some very expensive artwork that's going to be hitting the village soon. It's very, very vulnerable. Practically speaking, Don is one of the few people who are involved in getting rid of that graffiti when it gets up. And I think later on, maybe he can come up and explain further, or later on in your deliberations, how much money he might need. It could be just a couple $100, but you know that'd be a couple $100 well spent.
May I address that before you?
Sure.
We have discussed this in the past, and certainly Member Wachsmuth has brought it to our attention. And I think, Ms. Russo, you've looked into whether we are able to do that kind of servicing with the type of funds. We're under very, very strict guidelines about the way we spend money and what we can spend it on. And a lot of times these service type things come up, and it's not something that we can do with our funds. So I'll let
You can't do maintenance.
Yeah, the federal government believes that's an operation of the general government and not something that the CDBG fund should be spent on. So we can install our public art, we can fund it, but we can't maintain it. And that is consistently an issue that we confront in our projects that we do, and we try to be mindful of it, is that when we, if we put in a planting bed, and you understand, because I know the time you put in, we're not permitted to pay for maintenance. That's an operation of general government, and that's not within our funding stream. So although we agree with you, and I wish we had that opportunity to use the money for that, we're not able to.
All right, so maybe when the budget comes up, I'll be talking.
John, for your information, the mural on the Bravo, the powerboat, be $300 for the material, not counting labor.
Right.
Labor would be minimal, you know, a couple of hours.
Right,
So,
all right, I'll keep it in mind.
We feel your pain.
Yeah.
All right, so now let me ask you this, so that was my first strategy.
Okay.
So my another strategy for protecting public art would be, can you invest in surveillance cameras, or is that also off boards?
We've
Yeah.
talked about that also.
We are permitted to do, to fund certain public safety equipment, like cameras, et cetera. And I know that the bid has a project that they're starting, and I think Trustee Ferb could speak to that.
We've committed, we don't have a huge amount of money, we have $10,000 in the bid
Right.
budget. We're gonna have $10,000 in the bid budget for security next year, however many years. With the $10,000, we're able to get 3 cameras.
Right.
One of them will be at the intersection of Ocean and Main, and it'll do all the streets. It'll move around. Second camera will be in the parking lot in back of the theater. It will also move around. And the third camera will be in the Church Street parking lot. Now, that's a start, okay? And
The road walkway,
uh,
will that cover the cameras?
I don't believe so.
No, but that is a project that the board, we can discuss if that's something that we choose to do. So we can consider that in our budget
So,
for next year.
in light of what Tom has indicated, then I would simply say where there are gaps, because I know that it's a beginning program, for instance, but there are going to be gaps at the beginning of it. Do you have the ability and you have the right to do so? I would say infuse the idea with some more money, because again, those murals are going to be big targets for vandalism. It's just going to be.
It's a little bit challenging to do these cameras. They need an internet connection. So you have to have a premises cooperation.
Yeah.
So like the Furman building
Right.
is cooperating, we'll just go into that building. And there's 21 days of recording on the camera, and they're accessible in real time. So if the police if we give the police the password, if they give me the user ID and password, I can sit at home and watch,
Right.
okay? If you give the police the user ID and password, which we will give the precinct, they can actually go in and focus the camera, make the camera go in some direction, or tap anything in the last 21 days. Now, the other thing is there are at least 31 extant surveillance cameras in the village today. They're private. But anytime the police want access to them, they just knock on the door and they get access.
Okay. Well, but I'll just go back to my original point. You are promoting public art.
Mhm.
That which you are promoting, you need
Yeah.
to protect. It's as simple as that, so.
Great.
Could I mention one thing too? We have discussed a heavy-duty sealant be put on the artwork so that it's easier to remove graffiti.
Good.
There are products such as that, and that could be done as soon as the mural is completed.
Good.
So that might be a step in the right direction. It might be more easily cleaned off that way.
well, that's what I was speaking about.
Right.
For $300, we can
Right.
coat that mural,
Mhm.
and it washes off with a citrus-based cleaner.
Oh, because that's pre or at the time of painting itself,
Yeah.
not
See,
as a washing later on.
Oh, no, you have to seal it, and then it allows for easier cleaning
Mhm.
But that
after
we
the
can,
fact.
that is something that we can pay for.
Oh, good. All right, well, I recommend you do.
Okay.
I think it's, look, graffiti, it's a very difficult issue to deal with because Keith Haring was a graffiti artist. So there's an impulse to do art. It's called outlaw art for a good reason, that people view it as outlaw activity, but art too. Nevertheless, it's vandalism. So it has to be managed, controlled as much as possible. These are just some possibilities. I'm just I'm thinking about those murals and I want to see them there for a long time. So that's one. Now I'll go back to my other idea too. The last time I was here, I had been panhandled a couple of times aggressively, and I had suggested a street outreach person. Well, I don't know what happened with that idea, But since I've been here, we've had a murder on Main Street between two homeless people. And at a meeting not too long ago, we discovered there was a homeless encampment within a couple hundred feet of this very same building.
Next week.
I would imagine that there are still issues about people on the street, and maybe not hiring an outreach worker, but someone to survey the needs. Maybe that's a different approach, just to contact the cops, the business owners, anyone else who's out there dealing with people who need services, to see what they think needs to be done. If the homeless, according to that last meeting, Joe Miller brought up the fact that the homeless are moving the furniture of the garden. You know, I'm sympathetic to the people who are homeless. I understand that, but they shouldn't be doing these kinds of things. Sometimes, indeed, as everyone knows here, they fall through the cracks. Doesn't have to be that way. Maybe that's happening. I'm not exactly sure. But maybe we should find out. I guess that's my point. If you have some ability to fund some kind of outreach, to do a survey of social services needs of the homeless, street people,
Yeah,
I recommend it.
I actually echo that because I've been thinking about that. Not so much that our agency may fund it itself, but we do have networks with not-for-profit agencies, for example, the Long Island Coalition for the Homeless. And they do I know they do a homeless count every January, which we can participate in, but we can also find out what resources they have and what approaches they recommend for a community,
Right.
and maybe work with the other not-for-profits that are in the area, for example, Federation of Organizations, which is up on Waverly Avenue. They sometimes do outreach. So we can see whether or not we have a budget line to be able to maybe, to not necessarily fund someone in our office, but to maybe work with an agency and pay for them to do that particular service. We can explore that. And if we're unable to do that due to budget constraints, it is something that my agency can take on as far as networking and trying to get those other resources, additional resources into our village. So it may already be funded in another way, but at least bring activity, to bring the I said resources, I'm repeating myself, but you understand what I'm saying, to bring other not-for-profits here that are already operating in the field, that have best practices and coordinate it through the CDA.
Yeah, I agree. I worked for 20, 30, almost 40 years in the civil service, so I know that resources are there, but too often the caseworker sees things one way, the cop sees things one thing, and the probation officer sees things, and there's a lack of a pooling of resources. Really. And when the resources are pooled, basically they are there and can benefit the client or the person who is otherwise going to kill someone in the church on Main Street because it wasn't an intervention. That might not be the whole reason, but that might have been one of the reasons. And in the homeless encampment, only a couple hundred feet away. Those are social circumstances that led to those developments. Society can only do what it can do, but I would recommend that whatever we can do, we do. So, good luck. I recommend it to you. 1, 2, third comment and last comment. About this meeting, I agree with Joe, I see it's an experiment on your part, so you moved to 5 o'clock, I understand the
And we
concept.
got 2 people, so
Right.
I think we've been successful.
But in general, I would agree with Joe. I think when the board moved to its hours from 7:30 to 6, it cut off a lot of people who work. We still do get people, that's true, but not all the working people that used to come all disappeared. And that's what happens when you pick this time. In addition to that, the website of the village has the wrong time for this meeting. It should be 5, it says 7 o'clock, and then it's 5 o'clock. That needs never to occur again. That has to be taken care of. And thirdly, also on the website of the village, Marion gave me the announcement that she read. We posted it on the website for the Citizens Campaign for Open Village Government. That announcement should be on the village website too. I think that these all steps to encourage what you want to occur. Apathy in the village is very, very deep. So you can struggle against this as much as possible, but I think Joe's point was you're obliged to struggle. and let people fail, but let them
Yes.
fail because you offer them every possibility. That's all.
We apologize for the 7, I thought we had changed that.
Well,
It's only-
it within, I'll take responsibility for that and just, and do a better job of monitoring the website and making sure the information between our office and the web master
Yeah.
is clear, and that's something that, I'm not gonna go further. I'll just say that we'll address it, and I hear what you're saying.
Right, people read the advance, but you just have to multiply all the possibilities of bringing people in. So the read the advance. When I first did an announcement about your meeting on our website with just a date and a time and nothing more, no one responded. When I took your memo and I added that in, then we got all sorts of, a number of people. For us, 3 or 4 people expressing, just like yourselves. If 3 or 4 people respond, we think it's a tidal wave. But we got the 3 or 4 more people because they had more information and they could relate better to what this meeting was about. So that's why I recommend that for the next time around. So.
Okay, well, that is a correction we will definitely make.
Just in support of your comments, I mean, getting good ideas about what to do, is challenging.
Yeah.
It's only 2.2 square miles, but who knows, only Don knows what's going on in the village. I'm only joking a little bit. I mean, there's just so many things that could be done, but, we don't necessarily think of it.
And I don't think Joe or myself blame anybody. It's just, because we appreciate just as well as you do, the difficulty of engaging people. But nevertheless, there's some steps, and that's all about it.
Right. Just understand that we did it with the best of intentions.
Yes. I think I do, and so does Joe as well.
Thank you. Thanks for your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I make another comment?
Absolutely.
I don't know why people don't show up. And I'm sure that it's not just because the meeting is fun. I understand what you're saying, but leaving that aside, I'm sure that you already have some ideas about how this money can be used. I'm sure. And I'm wondering if there is a way to somehow solicit input, in a different way rather than in a public hearing. I know you have to have a public hearing. But if you could put your ideas out there and perhaps solicit input that way, I'm sure you guys have some ideas, and if you put it out there, people can say, that's a good idea, no, or how about if we take that idea and do this? Is there another way to include public input? That's really what I'm asking. And also, I'm curious, do you have some ideas? I would be interested to hear what you've been thinking about.
I have ideas, and so I don't know, I'll let the board speak before I share my ideas. I don't know if the board had thought about it over this month. Just to remind you, the board will be adopting the budget in November, so there is time to take into account the public comment. And so we can, in the next few weeks, put on the website what the ideas are that we have, and maybe get some input. So that's the process. Is the board will adopt it, and then we'll submit the proposals to the county for review.
I think the difficulty is the restrictions that are on us. And that you can't, if you just throw out there, we have X amount of money and we're looking for ideas, people might come up with a number of things, and then we have to say no, as we did before to a wonderful idea, because we're precluded from doing that. So I think, I agree with you, and I think it can't hurt to do that, but I think there will be some level of frustration in our inability to communicate the really narrow restrictions that we have with which we can spend this money.
And I'd be happy to have some input if I have the materials here that we use to refer to, which are just federal documents that give an idea of what project can be done. But if the board, if you're ready to hear my suggestions, I have a couple of ideas that I'd like to propose. One item that that I'm very interested in is creating pocket parks in our downtown area. I think through even the redevelopment, when we talk about the parking lots from the 1950s, and we talk about, we brought feet to the street by having high-density development, there wasn't publicly owned lands where we could create recreational space. I don't know, recreational is not exactly the right word, but even, passive recreation, for people to go and sit, or for, we've encouraged young families to move in, and some of them have children, or grandparents have their grandkids visit, and the playground is either farther to Torrey Park, or they have to go to Shorefront Park. So I am seeking out, I don't know if this is a project for this year, but I know it's something that is a personal priority for me, because I think having a park downtown somehow, somewhere, or maybe several, small parks, because we do have a few pocket parks, but we either have, we have the Furman Square, which is concrete, and we just did the theater walkway, which is also concrete. And then we have, the new village has that little town square. So there are places for people maybe to meet, but I'm hoping that a small playground somewhere in the downtown is something that we might be able to do, but what my recommendation would be to be included in our downtown I guess, improvement district. And we recall in the past, we've done that. We've created just a budget line and included in that a broad geographic area, and then put in a lot of different items that are eligible to be funded, so that we could use those funds as we choose. And just for the public that's here to understand, if each project that's proposed, we put a budget line in, and we provide a project description to the county that is then forwarded to HUD for adoption by the federal government and in the county's plan. In the past, we've done, for example, we did the Oak Street sidewalks. So when we did the Oak Street sidewalks, all I did was do a map, and I circled just that area and just said sidewalks. Well, once you do that, if I wanted to, and I went from Maple Avenue to North Ocean Avenue, if I found that I wanted to do a ramp on the other side of Maple Avenue that was just east, it was outside of the project description, and I would not be able to do that. Or if I found that we wanted to put benches or garbage cans, if I don't put it in the description, we're not able to do that. So what we've come upon is to do a very broad description. So our downtown improvement district, we include in that description sidewalks, benches, public art, we put in architecture and engineering and landscape design. So what I've tried to include as many items as possible and have as broad a description, so that then we don't have to go through the process of moving money around or changing projects, or as projects come up, we're able to be a little bit more, I guess, have a little more discretion in how we use those funds, as long as we're following federal regulations. And so I would ask that the board consider including in our downtown improvement district for 2015 a playground equipment, if we're allowed to do that. I don't even know if playground equipment is included, but there's always a possibility we could make a public art sculpture that some kids can climb on or something like that. So that's one item. The other item is the parking lot in front of the Carvel, the shopping center that's at the head of Ryder Avenue, really needs to be softened. And we've done improvements, streetscape improvements, so I would want to do some, maybe even do a small pocket park that's along Main Street that goes between the two entrances. There's an entrance as you're traveling west that you go pull in, and then there's the main driveway. So Dennis Smith from the bid, we and I had talked about doing a small semicircle park that might have a couple of trees and some benches and have a place for people to sit. Of course, we need to then have the bid, the village, the beautification committees on board because, as I said, once we build it, we don't maintain it. So that's kind of one of those challenges. And I spoke to Carol Giglio from building, and she suggested maybe we want to do a nice entranceway with some stonework that kind of sets apart, sets off that driveway and just improves the look. Because we did talk about bushes, hedges, but then hedges collect garbage, and then you have to have someone go in and clean it. So I want to kind of be mindful of what it's going to look like over the long term. And then lastly, I want to make sure there is not a way for someone in a wheelchair to get into that parking lot without going into the line of traffic. They have to actually go through a driveway to get in there. And I think that is something that definitely should be addressed.
That area could certainly use what you're suggesting. I'm wondering, what about the farmer's market? Would it interfere with the farmer's
I
market
think it would
there?
enhance it.
I think we would take that into consideration because we want to continue to have that farmer's market there. So, it would be one of those items that you have to fit in to how does it work when you have the farmer's market there. So those are just the two suggestions that have been roaming around my mind.
And roaming around discussion here, discussion
Right,
before,
yeah.
so I think that none of that is news to us, and we certainly have a history of working together very well with the other agencies, so I think that both of those are great ideas.
Marion, you know the little piece of greenery by the river across the street from Barcliffe College that belongs to the county?
Yes.
Could we put a swing set or something on that, or maybe make it more accessible?
I think, I don't know, I was thinking about that, but I wonder from a safety standpoint,
When the kids fall in the river.
but I don't know how, because it's I would like to do something to enhance that little park, because we don't do a lot of work on the west end of Main Street, and it is one green area that we have.
That's
and-
visible
And, right, I'm just not sure how to address any safety and maintenance issues we may have there, so I think it is something worth exploring. And
Maybe it's inappropriate for children, but like if we could get a cut through it has the, car barrier or something, right? It's got the big metal.
right.
oh, does it? Yeah.
And if we could put some benches and a few other things like that in there, so it's,
That would be nice, we could maybe have look like,
And I think Calarco, it's county property, so.
I could definitely speak with,
Calarco could probably get it for us.
we could speak with Legislator Calarco and see what we could do with that, whether or not the county could maintain it, if we could put funds into it, we can find out.
We're maintaining the circle now.
Oh,
We did a deal with the county so that the village is maintaining the circle at Waverly.
So,
It looks nice too.
It
That
looks
is
That's
beautiful.
why it looks nice, because we're taking care of it.
it would be nice to do something there, I would, I
I mean,
think
it's a
definitely.
beautiful little green spot.
It is.
Yeah,
Go fishing.
yeah.
Can you?
It's probably trout in that stream.
I think that is something worth exploring, and I think if we include it in the downtown public improvement area, we could.
You know that when Riverwalk is done, we're gonna have that 75-foot and 1,000-foot long park on the river.
Yes, where will that start?
Let's start. I
Oh,
don't know the name of the street that's back in there, but by the sewage treatment plant.
so it's not going, they're not gonna take it up to Main Street where
I
that
don't
old
think
county
it's gonna
park
go
is.
The plan used to be to take it up to Main Street. That used to be the plan.
Well, it's not Riverwalk's plan because it's not their property. And the property up by Main Street is not village property, it's Suffolk County. So, I mean, somebody may have,
You're talking about by the ironworks, is that where you're?
right,
Yeah.
Yep, well, because I wonder if, maybe a long-term plan, and not that our agency would do it, but what if one of the starting points is at that small county park?
Yeah,
And
nice.
that would be the entrance to the Riverwalk straight from Main Street.
That would be
And
awesome.
then
Yeah.
have a bridge across to meet the walkway.
Are there some cleanup issues with that area just south of Main Street by the ironworks? That's very overgrown in
Um,
Yeah, it's not
there,
a
some
problem.
pollution.
Oh,
I don't know, yeah.
uh-oh.
Yeah.
But the idea that, you know, focusing on the East Main Street by the Carvel lot, I mean,
Mhm.
if we, I mean, looks like dirt, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the few things left in the village that's really real, it's, you know, it's the gateway to the village from the east. They finally took down that sign structure,
Yes, okay.
you know, I asked
Yeah.
for that like 2 years ago.
Mhm.
I was in a parade and I saw this thing, I called Joe Dean, you know, it had live wires on it, so it takes forever. But that could be, you know, the building's a private building, but the
Mhm.
lot is ours, so
Mhm.
that would, you know, make a buffer park.
Yeah, I think something there
It's
to
gonna look
soften
real
that
great.
look. Because if you look at the Bethpage Federal Credit Union and you look at the, what they have over at Checkers, even though they have a parking lot in the front,
Yes.
which, you know, I would prefer the parking lot in the back, but if they have it in the front, at least they soften it with landscaping.
Yeah.
And I think if we could do the same thing in front of that building, it would be, it would improve the look of East Main Street in that area. And considering we just completed the sidewalks over there, it would make a more cohesive look.
The parking lot's half utilized generally, so
Right.
there's room.
I think so, I mean,
Absolutely.
there's some.
Seriously underutilized parking
Yeah.
lot.
Well, there are times though, when they have the archery range,
Yeah,
they will fill up, and then as Joe was saying, when they have the farmer's market, it's full.
you know, there are some other locations that the farmers market could go.
Yes.
I mean, you know,
Don't even try it.
well,
I tried
I
it
know
with
you
her.
do, Joe. But the Terry Street lot that belongs to the village, there's currently food distribution there every week by somebody.
Yeah, Lighthouse Machines.
That would be a more centrally located in the village place for the farmers market.
She is. I tried to work with her about moving the farmer's market because I really feel it's not in the best place
It's not,
in terms of attracting. She is adamant, totally inflexible. Ethel, I forget her last name.
but Josephine,
Yes,
it belongs to the village of Patchogue. It
Well,
does not belong to her.
but maybe what about in the new village square?
Oh, no.
that's kind of out of the way too. I thought the railroad station, you know, was probably a good spot. She literally said, because I had offered to help her with some other things that she wanted. She wanted the sign, and I said, okay, you know, butt out is what she said. So she does not want it, and she has the contract from the county for all of the farmers markets. So I don't think that
Joe, if we build a parking lot, pocket park during the summer, they may have to relocate all the time.
Well, go to it. I think it should be in another place.
I think the Terry Street lot is
Well,
much more central, walkable too, and we know that that's a lot of food stamps that have.
I'm going to say this isn't in our purview, right?
Right,
So I
so
think
I
we
think-
should maybe,
where the farmer's market is, I think, and just to
point taken, and I think we've got
Just-
some things on the table that may help us make some
And-
decisions.
right, and just to remind you, even though we're budgeting now for, we still don't have our contracts from last year for this year, so most likely any work that we do, if we do the parking lot near Ryder Avenue, will be done in 2016. So it's not anything that's happening tomorrow, but those are we can't accommodate everyone, but we'll have to work around the farmer's market,
Mhm.
but allowing access, if the farmer's market remains there, allowing, when we do the adjustments to that parking lot, allowing a place, not to remove the place where they set up. And that's basically your point, is just to have it, because we probably can work around the timing of it because they don't start till July. So if we get our contracts next year, 2015, if we do the design, we could start in May of 2016 and be done by July of 2016.
So I think it's a good time to talk about what the process would be with regard to these proposals, and if we were able to get other proposals in addition to these, if we went on this website, or if we had time for that, what would the process be at this point?
But the process would be is we can put something up on the village website, as we've been encouraged to do, and provide it on the village Facebook page, what these proposals are. We would need to have comment in time for the board to review them, but I would think that our next meeting's the beginning of November, so I would say any comments should, it would be November 6th, so we'd want to have comments by October, probably October 30th.
So let's work backwards. So November 6th is when this board decides.
Right, that would be when the board decides. So I guess the board would have to decide how much time they need to consider the comments. I would probably recommend earlier, because we should have the agenda earlier. So maybe the 20th or the 22nd of October, so that.
Well, regardless, we will vote on the 6th.
Yes, you're gonna vote on the
So
6th.
we're talking about having any suggestions in, it has to be prior to that because we need
Right,
time
you need time to review them.
So that's what I'm trying to kind of.
How much time do you?
Well, here's my concern, which is what I had alluded to before. Hopefully, we would get suggestions. I mean, maybe this is a process that next year we would get more, and the following year we would get more, but let's just take the best case scenario, which is we get a number of suggestions. But many of them we're not able to entertain because of our.
Because they're not eligible.
So then we have a whole communication thing about that has to be addressed, or not. But I guess we have to just deal with what we need to do, and that is put our suggestions up there, solicit suggestions, have a deadline for them, which 2 weeks prior to.
Yes.
So which we're dealing with a very short time frame here. But so anybody have a?
That would be October 23rd.
Marian?
Yes.
Maybe Linda Luzzi could write a small article about the grant and about the kinds of things that you're thinking about. And, when you get suggestions, maybe not, but you can put the information out there.
I can approach Linda and ask if she'd like to do an article.
She's pretty good about that, I think.
Sometime. I mean, there depends what her week is, but I'll recommend. I'll say that we had a request, and could you put something in about this, and I can prepare something for her to use in that. So I'll make that recommendation.
I'm just a little. I think we need to just. We all are on the same page with wanting public input and wanting to share what we're doing, but if we put up things we're considering, and then are we asking the public to, make a decision on that? I mean, what are we doing by putting out there what we're considering?
I mean, these are well, I don't know, I guess, yes, I would think.
I mean, you aren't asking them to make.
Well, what are we getting by telling them that the CDA board is considering pocket parks, and what are we doing by putting out what we're considering?
It's merely information for the public. It's merely letting people know. I understand what you're saying. When people don't like what we're doing, or people have other suggestions and we can't do them, then it creates a lot of bad feelings.
Right.
But I can assure you that it also creates bad feelings when you get federal money things are done, the same people are going to mutter, "Oh, they didn't tell us about it. Oh, they got that money and they spent it and they didn't tell us about it." The only goal here is not, is more public information, that's all. That's all I'm really talking about. I'm not thinking that they're going to make the decision, and you know, you may get no response at all, but nobody can say you didn't put it out there. That's all.
Maybe they could feed off of our ideas and expand on it, or come
Well,
up with additional ideas that we
maybe.
may like.
Maybe not. I mean, look, I agree with you. People are not engaged, but I do think that the effort to engage them should be ongoing.
Right, and my vision of what engagement would be to have a packed room here. I don't know that we're going to get engagement by bandying about, but you know what?
Well, I mean, you know, I'm not saying you need to do this. It's a suggestion, really, and it may be totally,
I know, that's why I'm
unworkable.
trying to talk it through and see if we're going to get the bang for our buck. How does everybody feel?
Well, would it let people know what we do and some of the things that we've already accomplished? Do you think that the general population knows about our sidewalks and our walkways and
I mean,
public
that
art?
I understand, celebrating what we've done, look at what we've done, come be a part of the decision-making in the future. But I'm just a little nervous about putting out there, we're considering A, B, and C
I mean, for the,
in this short time frame. You know.
right, well, I mean, I think it's probably no more than, it maybe not necessarily soliciting comments, but at least saying these are what we're considering. And then you'll do a short description of what it is we can use the funds for, and maybe a link to where they can get more specific information about the use of CDBG funds. But it is a highly technical, regulated funds, and it really, and this is in the end of the day, it isn't a lot of money when we talk about doing municipal projects, because of the cost of doing every project is expensive. But you know, just doing a short description of these are the proposals we're considering, it doesn't have,
without soliciting. I mean, maybe
without
that's a good
soliciting,
way
we
to
could
do
just
it.
say, this is
Just
what
to
we're
put the
looking at
information
doing.
out there.
And then we do have on our website our annual report of accomplishments. So we keep on the website what the CDA, we do that, report that every year. It's on the website under the CDA page. I don't know if people know to dig down and look at it, but it is on there, a link to follow. And we do on occasion have, Linda Lucy did a full article about the sidewalks we did on East Main Street prior to them being done. And she also has, Joe Keys did a short article about the bike racks, which the CDA paid for. So we do get mentioned within articles. And in this case, it's budgeting. We don't even know if we're going to get what they said we were going to get, because each year we get cut. So this year we were supposed to receive $170,000. We're receiving $146,000. So, and we don't know until the fall of the year when we're supposed to get our contract. So again, we're now budgeting with $146,000, and some of that goes to the administration of our office, and some of it it goes to the administration, and then some of it is already earmarked for the housing council that we have. So we have certain budget lines that are already taken up, but then this other one is something that we've consistently achieved. The downtown public improvement consistently achieved projects, completion of projects. So I could just draft something and circulate it to the board regarding what we discussed at the meeting, because the minutes won't be completed immediately, but this way it'll be earlier, and just say this is what was discussed, and if Joe and John, you want to then post it on your page and just say this is what was discussed, and that's all it is.
And we post it on ours.
And then be posted on the village's website.
With the information that on November 6th vote will take place.
Right.
But as you said, you're going to do like an umbrella type of category anyway.
Mhm.
So It's likely that suggestions might fall under that as well. So
and
I think the point we're getting here loud and clear is maybe we could start this a little earlier next year and be more cognizant of reaching out with some of the suggestions that you mentioned, and then we wouldn't be working backwards and saying we don't have time to do this.
yeah, and the only reason why we're kind of caught in that is that we don't know what money we have until after our September meeting. We don't know in time, and I set the meeting for October, even though I wasn't clear what we were getting, what we should be budgeting with, and then we have to adopt the budget by November because the project descriptions have to be in by the end of November. So we don't always have control over that process, so we generally always have our hearings in October, but maybe the point is that, you know, we're here every month.
Right.
It doesn't have to wait till October to make recommendations. In fact, I can tell you that before I worked here, my husband used the tennis courts down on Ryder Avenue, and we came not during a budgeting hearing, and we just proposed that improvements should be made to the tennis courts, and the board did adopt that. And then that's when the fencing was put up, et cetera. So, you know, maybe the point is taken that you're encouraged to come to have suggestions at any time, knowing that our what we can address is very limited.
Right. And the fact of the matter is we do discuss these things all the time, and the proposals that Marion has brought up have been talked about before, so if there were public here, they would know that and we would hear more things. So we'll keep trying. We'll keep trying.
Believe me, I understand what you're up against.
So we left it that we're going to get things out on the website and to you so that you can get them on yours as well. With the things we are considering and the vote date, but there can be no discussion at that time, right? The discussion is today.
This is the hearing.
Yeah.
So, and Toni, I always get caught up in that. So if we have the hearing now, then the board is going to, we're gonna close
Take
it.
it under advisement.
Take it under advisement, and then at the
Vote
next.
at the next meeting.
We'll vote at the next meeting.
You know, the bid has an annual meeting. When we vote the officers, you know, we vote a whole bunch of stuff. There's more people at a board meeting than at the annual bid meeting. And these people pay taxes. You know, they come. Civics is dead. Sorry.
I'm one of those people who pay bid taxes.
There's a couple of good things floating around about patriotism and civics. Send it to all of you.
I like it as an ex-social studies teacher. Okay. So where are we?
So you want to, so we're just going to
We're gonna
publicize
get
and then
things
we're going
out there,
to
we're gonna-
we close the public hearing?
Yeah, I really like your idea. I think it's a really good idea. I don't know that we can do it for $140,000.
What, the Ryder Avenue? No, I don't think so, but
Maybe we can get with the bid.
we may be able to work
And
with
the
the
village.
bid, and it's possible, we haven't made an application for the downtown revitalization grant through Suffolk County, Downtown Revitalization Advisory Board. We haven't made an application in 3 years, or maybe 4, so we could make an application the coming year, and that might be a project that we could do with those funds. And that, since it's going to be 16, we won't get that application until May of 2015. By the time we get the contracts, it might work out. So that would be a way to layer funds, as we did on the Row Walkway, the theater walkway, and now we're going to do on the Row Archway that we're going to talk about in a little while.
Okay.
Okay?
I don't think we need a motion to close it because we didn't have a motion to open it. So we'll just move on to current projects. Downtown public improvement.
Okay, on the theater walkway, I request approval to accept a bid by Jayco to apply a seal coat to the walkway in an amount not to exceed $5,000. Just to advise the board, we did send this out to 5 contractors and received no response. So Jayco is the winning by default. So I'm seeking approval so we can go forward with that at their earliest convenience.
And we've had satisfactory experience with them.
Yes, Jayco has done, is under county contract. This isn't under county contract, but this is a process that they do. But as you know, they've done they did the East Main Street sidewalks.
They do tons of stuff.
They do
Right.
quite a bit of sidewalk, so.
Okay, so I need a motion to accept the bid of Jayco, not to exceed 5,000.
Motion.
Motion, Member Wachsmuth, second by Member Dean. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. East Street, Maine.
Oh, right, East Main Street.
East Street.
Request
I'm
approval.
thinking of Bruce Springsteen.
Request approval to pay a final invoice of Jayco in the amount of $1,275. This is for the remaining work around the light fixtures on East Main Street.
Motion.
Okay, motion by
Second.
Member Ferb, second by Dean, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Carries unanimously.
West
West Main Street.
Main Street, requesting approval to pay the invoice of Jayco in the amount of $2,430 for the brickwork that was put in on West Main Street and the Waverly Square.
Motion.
Motion.
Member
Second.
Wachsmuth, Member Ferb, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Roll.
Okay, so we have, we received a contract from the County of Suffolk for the row walkway arch. This was an application that we made for the downtown revitalization grant, and we, when we had originally done the design of row walkway, as Member Wachsmuth probably remembers, I think Member Dean might have been here, we included an arch over the southerly entrance. It was a prefabricated arch, and it had stone piers. We were not able to include that in the final project because we didn't have sufficient funds. However, the footings were installed, so that's already been done and tested. So at this point, I have in the board's package a copy of the design, and I also have the project summary from the county, which we anticipated about a $40,000 project. We asked them for $19,000, which they funded. And then last was the bid tab from the original row walkway project that has on line 3, under item 3, what it would cost for the archway. And you can see the range of estimates was $27,000 was the lowest, up to $55,000 for the highest. And J.R. Holtzmarker was our engineer at the time, and J.R. Holtzmarker is in fact one of the 3 architectural engineering firms that the CDA had selected through our RFQ process. So we have 3 firms that we can pull from, which is J.R. Holtzmarker, Balbasano and Associates, and VHB. So I approached J.R. Holtzmarker since they'd already done the work originally, and I have before us a proposal from them to do the remaining engineering work. So as they put in their proposal, they just indicated what they'd already done. So they designed the footings and that were installed in anticipation of the archway being installed. They tested the concrete, and they did an engineering inspection and report. They anticipate that they will be doing, they will prepare a project, a document for bidding. We're hopeful that this may come under the procurement rules, under the amount that we have to go out for a full bid, that we may be able to get 3 written proposals, which would be, they'd have to be under $29,999. And it's possible that it could come in at that amount, and so J.R. Holtzmacher would prepare a package for that. We would get the 3 quotes. If we're able to get it under that amount, then we
Just
would
go with
select one of those, the lowest responsible bidder of that group. If not, then we'd have to go and do we'd have to bid it out in a publication and a full process.
So we don't need an action at this time?
We do. I'm asking the board, I have a motion requesting the
The approval
to
of them.
appoint J.R. Holtzmacher as the engineer for the project. That's my first request. And my second request is to go out to bid for the purchase and installation of the archway.
Motion.
Okay, just a question though, we may not have to go out to bid.
No, it's the same, I'm saying bid, but either way, I need permission of the board to go out and solicit quotes.
So we're gonna get the Holtzmacher plan,
Mhm.
and we're gonna get somebody to say how much it costs.
Okay.
And it's either gonna be
All right,
3 people.
so it's 2 motions. First motion to approve Holtzmacher.
Motion.
Motion Wachsmuth, second member Ferb, all in favor?
Aye.
Carries unanimously. And the second motion is to go out to find out how much it is.
It's to solicit quotes or go out to bid.
Okay,
Motion.
motion Dean,
Second.
second Wachsmuth, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carries unanimously. Restrooms.
Our project for this coming year, when we get the contracts, is to renovate the bathrooms. And we have an estimate from Baldessano Associates for renovating the Village Hall bathrooms. At this point, because of the possible cost of the project, I'm not sure we're gonna be able to go forward with it, so at this point, I'm not asking for an approval of Baldessano as our architects. I just wanted to advise the board that I did get an estimate from them. And Baldessano is going to do the design, and they're gonna work with the J.R. Holtzmacher to do the engineering. So it is included in their proposal here that their team includes J.R. Holtzmacher for the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection, as well as the civil sanitary design. And so at this point, I'm not asking for any action by the board. If we believe we can pull together the funds necessary to do it, then I'll come to the board for approval on the engineering. I just wanted you to know where we are with that.
So advised.
The public art report, we have a contract which has been drafted and reviewed by the attorney. I'm waiting for final comment from the artist regarding some minor changes in the contract. I don't see any problem with that, so we'll be going forward with that shortly.
Do we need to include the sealant at this point? Is that something we should?
It's already included
It's
in
in
the project description.
Is it too late this year to start it?
It may be, we may be running a little late, so we may have to do that in the spring.
Okay.
The tennis court report, I'm still working with Superintendent Dean of Public Works to determine which would be the best course of action and if we're going to in fact go forward with that project. I was asked by Maria Gittizia of Parks and Rec and Joe Dean to hold those funds because they were hoping to be able to go forward with it. But considering the constraints on our regulations, we're going to see whether or not we're actually able to fund it. So that's still outstanding.
Okay. Okay. The 5-year plan. Everybody's had a chance to review it. Was there any discussion or questions, I guess? I spoke with Marion just before, and there's a slight change to the way we're going to word this, so I'll just read it to you now. The motion to adopt the board resolution to accompany the PHA 5-year plan and all attached certifications. It's just a formality based on the way the plan is presented and worded. Any discussion? So I need a motion.
Motion.
Member Ferb, Trustee Ferb, should say. Second,
Second.
Member Wachsmuth. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Our utilization report, we have 160 vouchers leased up. We have one voucher holder who is still looking for a appropriate unit. We have 17 port-ins. We have one voucher holder, another new voucher holder. So we had one that was in our program. She moved out of her apartment. She's looking for a new place to live. She's living with family until she can locate it. But then we have someone that we took off the waiting list, and that voucher holder is still looking. And we have one of the voucher holders that was looking has now leased up. So we have another new person there. We are looking, because we're so close to the end of the waiting list, we now are down to about 80 people. What I've spoken with Carmen about is to mail out the tenant information forms to half the waiting list and process them, because what I'd like to do is get down to finalize and know exactly how many people, because rather than purge the list and remove those people who don't respond, we'll just find out whether or not they're responding and eligible at the same time. So that's just how the office is processing the waiting list. We do have a new intern in our office. His name is Joseph Verardo. He's a graduate student at Stony Brook University. He's studying for his master's in public policy, and he started on Monday. I gave him the cook's tour of Patchogue Village, because he's from Westchester, and he actually had not been to Patchogue before, even though he goes to Stony Brook. So that was kind of, it was good to see it from someone's eye, new person's eyes, and a young person. He was thrilled with New Village. He was like, because he said in his dorm, where he's a resident assistant, the graduate students live in apartments, or they get quads or whatever. They pay $1,200 a month, and he's saying there are some students there that might want to pay the money to live in New Village, to have all the amenities. And he's very happy about seeing Patchogue. So we may have another convert. The two tasks that I'm going to delegate, well, not necessarily delegate to him, but work with him on, is to update our administrative plan, and then incorporate some of the changes that have come up in the regulations. One of the biggest changes is that generally every year we have to do a housing quality standards inspection of the units, and the industry has been asking HUD to relieve us of some of our administrative burdens, since we've been cut back substantially on administrative fees that we're earning. And one of the ways that they sought to do that is to allow us to do inspections every other year. I'm not sure whether or not we're going to adopt that. I'm going to, have him look at that, and we'll discuss it with the staff, and then bring it before the board to see if that is something we want to do. I think with the apartment complexes, it's not an issue, because they do maintain them to a certain level, and then I just have to see whether or not it's worth it with the multifamily homes that maybe have an older, it may have been built 100 years ago or 75 years ago. And we also are examining whether or not we can use the rental permit inspections instead of our housing quality standards inspections. That does not relieve us of the burden of having to do a move-in inspection. Whenever anybody leases up, we would continue to have to do those inspections. And upon request from the landlords, if they want us to do a move-out inspection, we would also do those. And the other item that we're going to ask him to review, which was what we've discussed before, is how we want to set up our preferences when we reopen our waiting list. My hope is that we can reopen our waiting list next year, and at that point, we'd like to have a final determination of which way we're going to go with those preferences. Right now, we have an elderly, we have a village resident and then elderly disabled. And I think, as I reported before, but We had, do you want me to go over this again? I'll tell you, we sent out the app last year, no, 2007 is the last time we opened our list. We received 1,600 applications in a 1-week period. We had the applications out in the, we sent it out to all the other housing authorities and not-for-profits and posted for a month. And then we made it 1 week that it had to be postmarked and received. And in that week, we received 1,600 applications. We took the first 1,000. Had I known, it was my first time, I would not have done that. The next time, we're only going to take 200 and just send back all the remaining applications, because then it would only be a 5-year process instead of telling people we don't know when you're going to, get a voucher. We can be, it'll be quicker to go through it, and then we can open it up. I'd rather open up more frequently and then give people, have people waiting. We had about, out of that 1,000, perhaps 60 were village residents, either lived or worked in the village, and then about, I want to say about 900 were elderly disabled, and then the other 40 were neither. And so we're finally getting to the neither and the end of the elderly disabled. So we just have to see under fair housing rules and how we want to approach it as a community, what kind of preference we want.
So going back to the intern, what his role in that is what?
His role will be to look at our, to review the regulations that we have that have come down, the new ones, discuss it with the staff, update our administrative plans for any technical changes that have come down through the regs, and then we'll discuss the preferences with him, and I'll ask him to do a little research and maybe reach out to the fair housing advocates in Suffolk County on Long Island to get their input as to the preferences that we're reviewing. So that's some.
Okay.
And then the other item is to work on the Association of Long Island Housing Agencies website.
That's his second job as the associate to work.
No, it's the same. Yeah,
Right.
he's here for
Okay.
5 hours a week for just this semester.
Okay. All right, public authority.
No,
That's it?
nothing to report on the public authority.
Other business, the emergency management plan update project.
As the village has received a grant from Adelphi, I think I told you that, to update its emergency management plan. I will be going for training through New York State Office of Emergency Management, Tuesday, Wednesday, and half of Thursday next week on emergency planning. So I'm going to learn something about emergency planning because I'm coordinating the drafting of the updated emergency management plan. So that we're moving forward with that. So in line with that, the Greater Patrick Co-ed is moving forward, and we did a training on Saturday morning. So Member Dean was there, and that was pretty interesting. We went through the process of what would happen as a hurricane is hitting and how our co-ed might operate, what we would need to do. So we will be also at the Patrick Fire Department open house, and we're looking to do some more disaster preparedness kits, starter kits, and I actually received from Long Island Volunteer Center, they do have, I think I may have told you, we have 100 first aid kits and 100 dust masks, so we're going to be reaching out.
That was a good catch.
That's good, and we'll also be doing a joint project with ServPro, which is a chamber member, for a chamber general meeting with their membership. And lastly, we met with the Hispanic Business Leaders Group and the chamber, and I also spoke with Hendel Leva from Long Island Winds, and we're looking to do a Christmas maybe networking with the co-ed, the Hispanic business leaders, the faith-based community, just to socialize, but also the co-ed will have an opportunity to discuss preparedness and work towards finding our network and to connect to the network within the Hispanic community. So I'm working on that, and continue. We had the Harvard School of Design. So Trustee Ferb was there when they came. That was pretty interesting.
Was it 20?
It was about, it was 15.
15 students, Harvard School Design students came to talk to the mayor, Brian Egan, about what we're doing here. Got a tour.
They
They were amazed. They were interesting bunch of kids.
they had, it's the Harvard School of Design. It's a graduate program at Harvard, and they have architects, planners, and landscape architect students. They, from all over the world, go there. They came to do a whirlwind tour across Long Island, meeting with a cross-section of governmental, not-for-profit, advocacy groups. So we were able to, we gave them a tour of Patchogue. They've been in Riverhead. The next day they were in Freeport. I know they were going to Hempstead and Newcastle. I have yet to hear back from them, so I'm hoping that they will select the village. We had 3 projects that we're hoping they'll pick up on, and one was my park idea that to see whether or not they can think about incorporating. I know there was some discussion about assistance in coming up with some kind of code
Standards.
design standards.
Design standards for like one level up from the architectural guidelines, really, for the architectural review board.
Right. Yeah, I think that's what it was, because, so, and then other is the tech-based housing for technical, graduates or business people.
Incubator.
Incubator. So it should be, so it was interesting to be with them and speak with them, and it's always nice to have a school of the stature of Harvard come to Patchogue, so can't unearn it. That was pretty nice. And then on September 8th, the mayor and I hosted, along with Dennis Smith, a Future Cities project visit. Future Cities project is a collaboration out of the University of Sydney in Australia, and we had about 30 governmental appointees and electeds from Australia come, and they were also again looking at Long Island, New Jersey, Connecticut, and we did a tour of Patchogue in the morning of September 8th, and it was really that was another great experience. They had a lot of great questions. It was interesting, the similarities that we all addressed regarding parking and trying to enliven their community. We were partnered with Pittwater, Australia, which is 30 kilometers north of Sydney, and they have an initiative called Enliven Pittwater, and they were very interested in our Live After 5 project, because they're trying to bring more arts and young people, and they have a large retirement, a lot of their population is retirement, their home prices are very expensive, and so they're not having the younger people move in there, and it's a beautiful location, but they don't feel that they're getting the kind of visitation, tours that they want or things. So it was very cool.
When you're going to Pitt?
We're looking for funding now. We want to have a tour now. We'll see if we can get that happening and do a tour of Australia. I did take the opportunity to go into the city and meet with them at a RUP architecture down on Water Street. They did a cocktail party kind of meeting, and they also had 3 representatives from New York City planning and traffic, and I think it was, there was one other department, just address them about how New York City is doing hazard mitigation and rebuilding after Sandy, and also thinking about ways to enliven the streets, et cetera. So it was cool.
Harvard, Australia, and
Hey.
everything. Patchogue's on the map.
It is. It's a very exciting thing to,
Wonderful.
place to, talk about.
It
And
really is
we are the model for the Mark Rose on Long Island, so it's a good thing to say.
wonderful.
Very exciting.
And I just want to remind, just let the board know that there is I didn't send an email. I didn't actually get an invitation, but the Chamber of Commerce is having their annual dinner on October 15th at the Mediterranean Manor, and the honoree this year is Paula Murphy and the Beautification Committee and the Garden Club. So I attend every year, but I just thought I'd no, I'm not on that mailing list. I don't know why. But it's an error because I was the committee chair for about 5 years, and I was on the committee for 10 years. So I think when I stepped off, they just forgot that I should be invited. But I just thought that the board might be interested in knowing
That's nice.
that. Yeah. And
Well deserved.
and then we also had a Long Island Community Development Organization luncheon, and we had someone speak from. From the Destination Long Island, and there's an event happening. I think it's October 20th. So I just have the handouts from
She
that.
was very interesting.
Yeah.
Talking about how to keep, how to make Long Island appealing to young people. And as an advocacy group,
Yeah.
not just talking about
It-
how to do stuff.
It was really interesting, the statistics, the study they had done, and they showed the transportation routes and where the critical places are, like how many transportation routes are by hospitals, how many are by universities. So, and we know that if Long Island was developed east to west with the Long Island Railroad, and we have these roads that run north and south, but not a lot of transportation connectors. So it was a very good presentation, and so I just.
The trains and the buses are not hooked up.
That's right. Oh, that's the other thing she said. They're not
They're
hooked
real-
up.
They're just terrible.
Mhm.
It can take 2 hours. My daughter used to commute from Orem to work at Wendy's in Patchogue, and it would take her 2 hours.
Oh,
Really?
It's really not
Yeah.
coordinated.
No,
Yeah,
it's
It's
not.
very difficult with public transportation.
Yeah,
Car culture.
it is a hard
And
one.
it's not the safest for pedestrians and
Oh,
bicyclists either.
Yeah. Oh, and that reminds me.
uh-oh.
On Tuesday, I attended, was asked to sit on the Age-Friendly Communities Committee by the County Executive's Office. And so the Village of Patchogue is the only village that's a part of that. It's all the towns and all the county departments. And a study was done by AARP on behalf of the advisory committee. Actually, let me go back. The World Health Organization has recognized that age-friendly communities is a huge issue around the world because I think it's 15,000 people turn 65 every 10 minutes around the world. And so,
And I'm one of them.
yes, yeah. So,
It's 10,000 a day in the United States.
is it 10,000 a day? And
In the United
Boomers.
States,
Yeah.
10,000 a day.
wow. So we have, so it's
And it's gonna go on for 30 years.
So how do we address and create communities and address the issue, create communities where people want to live, where they're able to live? And AARP did a study they sent out to all their members in Suffolk County. So I don't know why, they said it was 2,000, or maybe they sent it out to certain of their members, I'm not sure. They received 25% responded, so 460 responded, and it was 108 questions. So I'm not sure how they decided how they sent that out, but so we received the report, and so it was, so it's interesting, and one of the things they talked about is Number one as a gap was employment. So that a lot of people in between 50 and, are looking for employment, and we discussed that issue,
For
that
some of us.
because a lot of people have a fixed income and their income's not keeping pace with the inflation, and so it's people are looking for jobs, they're looking for trainings also. It's more difficult to get a job. I forgot what the statistic was, but for someone over 50 or 55 who loses their job, to find another job takes maybe 18 months, that they're not competitive. So job training, but also safe bicycle pathways and sidewalks was something they identified as a gap. I think there was, transportation was not a gap, although we think that might be, it really is a gap. It's just maybe they're still driving, so they're identified as a gap. Affordable housing is always a gap, and we're going to be identifying the ones that we feel that we can work on. So Suffolk County has signed on to the World Health Organization as an age-friendly, as part of the age-friendly initiative, as well as the town of Brookhaven, and so they're working towards meeting those goals.
Interesting.
So I just want to let you know what I'm doing.
Very busy.
Yeah,
Too
my
busy,
goodness.
yes.
What a month.
Wow.
Been a busy month.
Well, good
Yeah, I
stuff.
loved August. It was
Good
great.
stuff.
Yeah. So okay, that's all I have.
Public be heard, that we have someone. we
Well,
can-
I think Marion is worth every penny she gets.
Oh, you are right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
We know that, thank you. Okay, motion to adjourn.
A quick question,
Oh,
do we have a proxy vote if someone's not here?
No, I don't believe so. I don't think we're allowed to do that.
Oh, really?
I don't know. Are you allowed to on the village board?
Not the village board, but certainly the bid board is.
Yeah, but
All the time.
I don't know that. I've never seen anything that allows us to do that, and I would believe probably, I'd have to look, but I don't think under the public authority law that they would want us to do that.
Because I won't be here next time.
Oh, okay. So
As
we
long
have,
as we
we
have
have a quorum.
quorum, we'll miss you, but we
I'll be
can,
in
we
Rome.
can
We'll be
function.
in Rome?
Oh, nice.
Oh, really? You won't be missing us.
My wife's birthday.
Oh,
that's wonderful.
nice.
Very
Aw.
nice.
Oh,
Check
yeah.
out the traffic there.
Yeah.
Yeah, bring us some pictures from some parks.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
Motion. Second.
Ferb, Wachsmuth, all in favor?
Aye.
The meeting is adjourned at 7:40.
No, 6.
Oh, sorry, 6:40.
Okay, thank you.
Second.